Welcome one and all. Today is April 7th, 2016, and this is Mastermind call number 69. Great turnout, guys, and we've already got a couple people in the queue. For those of you that didn't hear me say it the previous three times, *6 and then hit 1 if you would like to participate. Ask a question, make a comment. No questions are off limits. We really encourage participation in these calls. So hit *6 and then wait just a second for the prompt and then hit 1 and you'll get put in the queue. We got a couple people in there already. Tim, anything you want to share with the group?
Not a thing, bud. If you've already got people in the queue, I'd rather hear from them, and that's what this is about anyway.
All right, excellent. One quick thing I did want to share. Chad and I were chatting before the call. We've had a number of our long-term subscribers that have been asking us recently about divorce, and we just wanted you to know we have not forgotten. It took us 2 years to put together the quality probate program that we have, and I think it's taken us a bit longer than we anticipated to do divorce. There's 3,140 counties in the country, and no two have the same collection procedures. They all have different processes. So, and Chad, you had some thoughts on that also, some issues. We will get there, hopefully sooner rather than later, but we want to get it right before we deliver it to you. Chad, anything you want to share along those lines?
It's just the biggest challenge is the inconsistency across jurisdictions on how they record the data, and we want to make sure that we're consistently providing you, that we're providing you consistent data that's the same every time. So, there's a bit of we've got to crack the code before we feel comfortable passing things along to you guys, because we want to make sure that we're always selling the most valuable data and services that we can. So.
Yeah, and I think the issue there is exactly what Chad said. We spend a lot of time perfecting the exact data that we gather and report on the probate side, and I think the real issue is that while it's easy to say, well, you can get John and Mary Jones are dissolving their relationship. Sometimes that information specifies where they live. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it specifies one or the other of their addresses. Sometimes it's an attorney. And so we're just trying to make sure we get this dialed before we go off trying to do this, and then we're not giving the right data. And also that our data collectors can easily get it into the system so that it becomes appropriate and efficient for us to do this. So we're getting there. We'll get there.
All right. Excellent. Chad, anything on the training front you want to share with them? I know we have another mastery class coming up soon, correct?
We do. I don't have the date set for that. You should, by the end of the week, you should see the invites for the April probate mastery. We're doing a webinar series. We do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's been working out really well. We hosted the 7th role play call yesterday. It turned out to be a lot more like a mastermind call, but we did discuss a lot about the initial conversation, kind of the framework and language that you can use to open those conversations. Ask, what questions are good to ask in what order. And we also talked about how to approach attorneys, both on the phone and during office visits. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to the role play call, it is posted in the All the Leads Mastermind Facebook group. If you're not a part of that group, go to Facebook and the top search bar, put in All the Leads Mastermind, and request access, and all the role play calls and these mastermind calls are archived there with a summary of what we talked about. So when you have free time, when you have net time, as Tony Robbins would put it, try to listen to as many of those as you can.
Excellent. Tom, anything you want to share from a customer service perspective, or are we good?
No, I think we're good. Just if anyone ever has questions or needs anything, just send us an email at support@alltheleads.com.
All right, perfect. We have 2 people in the queue, and we have 20 minutes left in the call, so I got to pry some more participation out of you guys. Please hit *6 and hit 1 so we can help you with what you need help with instead of just listening to us talk. And we're going to open up. I recognize the area code, the number ending in 1003. I believe that's Roger. Is that you, Roger?
Well, good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
I'm having
You're
a
up.
wonderful. I'm having a wonderful day. Getting two of my probate leads through underwriting, titling, and stuff like that. I've sent a couple of emails on the drama that's unfolded in the last 48 hours on one of them. The attorney for the executor objected to language on one of the affidavits signed by the executor to release title, and so I finally found a title company that would work with him. They found satisfactory language that would fit both of them, and so I'm moving the close from one title company to another title company. I said, be sure to send me a separate email so I can tell them it's not me making this decision, and it's just kind of a. That's just one of the cool parts about this business is it's always something new, and I'll find a new partner that is attuned to probate and leads and closing and services, and helping out with modifying their processes, their forms to comply with to protect the executors. And
Hey, Roger, if I could jump in real quick, you make a good point there, because we, in the training that Chad does, he always, stresses get your team together, and an extension of your team is having the right. Now, the client generally already has a probate attorney, but you should also have one you can call on if you have issues, and having the right title company can make a huge difference ahead of time. You can't dictate they go to the title company, but you can strongly suggest it before the contract is approved. So that's a great point. And Roger, you've been with us 3-4 months now, or has it been longer?
It's about 5 months.
About 5 months, and I know you've done multiple deals. I always have to ask you, how's the $8 million listing going?
I've been calling the family again, and it looks like I'm going to have to go to Ozark, Arkansas to catch him at lunch sometime. And mom
okay.
is not ready to move, and she's still holding on, and she's watching all of the dirt movers build a road across her land, and I think that it's been an appropriate amount of time for grieving with the loss of her husband, and he was a pretty prominent guy in the county. He was the county agent for probably about 30 years, and then retired, and but had quite a bit of real estate closings in Arkansas.
When you say county agent, it reminds me of Green Acres. I can't remember the county agent. I think it was Fred Ziffel. He used to. This is probably going to date me. I'm probably half the group won't know what I'm talking about. But Roger's in a very rural market, and once he took on this niche, he's got virtually no competition. He's really set the world on fire with it. So I appreciate it. Any questions or anything we can help you with this week, Roger?
Well, I've just kept sending emails with the drama for the affidavit, and I just really wanted to ask Chad if he's had any challenges like that that he's worked through at the title end of the property, and does it degrade the deed that's transmitted to something other than a warranty deed?
So I just read through that ticket really briefly before the call, and it was a pretty long email chain. And I did glance over paragraph 17 of the affidavit that you're mentioning. But can you summarize to me what their objection was, what the title company was trying to do?
Well, the title company just started off with their initial form, the first one, and it just basically says that that paragraph in the affidavit of the closing documents says that if anything, that the executor is responsible for all attorney's fees, litigation that happens if a title challenge comes up, and you did you know if there's any easements, liens, or on the title? And the attorney just said, we're not prepared to say we don't know because we don't know. What we will say is we don't know if there's any.
That's how I read it too. It looked to me like the underwriter, which starts with the F, was basically passing on their liability as a title company. It's like, well, isn't that what you do? Like you issue title insurance. So what you did, you moved it to a new title company. Is that what you did?
Yeah. The attorney and I talked. I opened up the dialogue with a second title company and took my brochure that Russ and I have combined one, and it's pretty awesome. I still have it in draft form. We haven't started printing it yet, but he just took a look at it. It's still 2 pages put back to back together, and he started. The title guy, owner of the title company, looked at it and said, "Are you doing this?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Nobody else is doing this." And I said, "Yeah, I know." And Russ is taking care of Benton County. I'm taking care of Washington County. And he looked at me and he said, "I get people in here all the time that inherit properties and don't know what to do with them." And I said, "Well, you see that title professionals is the top bullet up there as far as my team members, and I need some help with some language on this affidavit. I'd like to see your affidavit. I'd like to get you and the attorney talking to each other and see if we can't work something out." And
Roger, that is great. I didn't mean to cut you off. We have other people in the queue, but I did want to bring home a point that you're making here that Chad's gone over many times. We tell our agents, call the executor first, get the property listed, but by all means try to make friends with the attorneys. The executor can give you one deal, the attorney can give you a career worth of referrals. And Chad, you always mention that these people typically with the probate, it's a set fee. So anything you can do to let the attorney earn his fee in less hours, you're going to be his friend. So, and I think you've done a really good job with that, Roger, with both your title company and your attorney in particular. Take as much, you're not going to do the legal work, but as much as you can take off his plate, why would he refer to anybody else if you're making his job easier? And that's kind of sounds like what you're doing, right?
And Roger, thanks for sharing the story. I know I've shared mine way back through these calls and places. I mean, there's a very good reason that we highly, one of the main team members that we teach you to align yourself with is a title company. And I always say it needs to be a title company that could be a lamb or a lion. They need to have bedside manner, but they also need to be able to stand up and pound their chest and write intimidating letters when somebody's getting ugly and it's unfounded. So you did the right thing. When you felt like they weren't protecting your client, you pulled the business to somebody that would, and that's exactly what you got to do. So for anybody on the call that hasn't, that if you have a title company that you know and trust and you work with, sit down and address this on the front end and say, how are you going to react when we do uncover a title problem? And yours wasn't necessarily a title problem. It was a title company not wanting to do what the title company's supposed to do, it sounds like to me. But for me, it was an heir that had signed himself out of the deed a decade before, decided he would come out and threaten to contest the will. And when I knew I had the right title attorney is when he stood up and he said, "All right, we're just going to sue your ass, and here's how it's going to go." And that guy went away, and we closed the next day. But I had the right guy that didn't just sit it down and say, I got so many other files to work on. So make sure you're working with your the closing attorney, the title attorney, or the title company who has an attorney on retainer. Make sure they're going to stick with your deal, and make sure they're going to keep it moving forward when you do hit any kind of a title problem or challenge. And it's not often. I would say 1 in 500 might have messy title or something that comes up at the last minute. But when it happens, it could be a big deal. It's definitely a big deal for the family, but it's also a big deal for your business. So just make sure you've got the right partners.
Good job, Roger. Get that $8 million one closed and let us know. And thank you. Thanks, as always, for participating. Robin Turner, you're up next in the queue. And please, guys, we have time for 2 or 3 more questions. Plenty of time. So *6 and then hit 1 to ask other questions, participate, make comments. If you got a question for Roger, that's fine. I'll leave you unmuted, Roger. Robin Turner, you're up, sir. How are you?
Well, actually, this is Kathy Turner, Robin's
Hey, Kathy.
Yeah,
we got the
we've been
better
with
half.
I guess, for about 2 or 3 months now.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just wanted to just talk about, since we're new to this, and you may have covered the conversations. Are you there?
Yeah, we're here. Go ahead.
Okay. But, I know that a lot of my leads in my Brevard County area in Florida, they, we have a lot of attorney representation. And so I guess my question is, do people have a better success rate calling the attorney first or the executor?
Well, it's people certainly have success calling attorney. I think the biggest success that we've heard across the country is actually office visits to attorneys. Just do a drop by and say, can I have 5 minutes of your time? And look, and if you have any kind of a brochure or something that can summarize your value proposition, what you can do for the families and for him or her to take file, get files off their desk quicker. I think the office visit to an attorney has been the most productive. The gatekeeper in an attorney's office, usually the receptionist, she's kind of the guardian of billable hours. So when you try to get on the phone with an attorney, it's not always easy. We talked about this on the role play call. You can listen, but just a couple of quick ideas. You can always reference the name of the deceased, so the estate of Jane Doe, and docket number 1234, and we give you both of those pieces of information. So you can kind of make it, between you and the gatekeeper, make it sound like you're already talking to, Attorney Smith about the estate of Jane Doe, docket number 1234. And try to get through, the gatekeeper that way. But attorneys are busy.
That sounds good with that.
But if you show up at the office, and we've had a gentleman in Florida who is greatly successful, just, if you're just assertive and step out of your comfort zone and walk into the attorney's office and say, hi, my name's Kathy. I'm looking for, Attorney Jane Doe, and, she's working on the estate of Mary Smith, and I just wanted to discuss something with her real quick.
And Robin, just from an overall perspective,
Dr.
Kathy. Sorry, I know a girl named Robin, so I now would always call you Robin. Sorry, Kathy. A vast majority of our agents have had much greater success getting the listing by calling the executor. You don't need the attorney's permission to list the property. So the generic recommendation is always call the executor first. Get the property listed. But once it's listed, by all means, reach out to the attorney. Once you got it listed, you've got a legitimate reason to call the attorney. You want to call and find out when the probate's going to be closed, so you can tell the buyer's agents contacting you when to date the contract. So do both is the best, but you certainly don't need the attorney's permission to list the property. California is the only place where we hear that attorneys sometimes routinely refer agents, and that's the case. I still would call the executor first, get the property listed, because it's not up to the attorney who they list with. Was that your question, or was it more what Chad answered, or both?
No, I was doing both today, and I was getting different results, and I was just kind of trying to feel out what other people, what they thought. Wait a minute, Robin's coming up here.
Okay.
Now, we got the properties in probate. Do we have to wait till all the probate is cleared, or can we get like a order from a judge to go ahead and sell the property anyway?
You can list it today, and I'll let Chad answer the rest of that question.
I'm going to defer to you. You're in Florida. In my state, you can sell it any time, and in a lot of states, you have to get court approval to finalize the sale. And I'm pretty sure that's how Florida operates.
Yeah, Robin, in Florida, you without going through any extra procedure, you can list the property and typically the probate's not more than a couple months off, and just make the closing date, within 7 days of the conclusion of the probate. You can, and I've done this myself. You can appeal to the court to go ahead and close early, and what they typically do is they'll just hold the funds in escrow. The title will pass. It's a regular closing, but they hold the funds in escrow until the seller doesn't get paid until the probate's done. But there is a mechanism for closing early. It's just a little bit of extra work for an attorney to go get the court approval to do so.
Okay, and on that note, I made a dozen calls today and got one listing.
Woo, not bad.
I like that ratio.
They were just like so happy that I had called them, and actually most people I do call, whether they list with us or not, have been very pleasant.
Well, that's an interesting side effect. Sound effect.
What is that?
Tim, that was you. That was you, Tim.
Kathy, I have to ask Kathy. So those are awesome results. That's so good. Like 12-1 is phenomenal. And so I want to ask though, did you expect people to be so grateful and thankful when you called them? Is that the result?
Yes. I think the tone of my voice and the way that I am on the phone kind of soothes them and makes them relaxed and pleasant. I think
that's exactly why I asked the question. So what I find is the people who are fearful when they pick up the phone and the people who think they're going to be called an ambulance chaser are the ones that end up with no confidence, marble mouth, and get blasted on the phone. But when you really get clear on why you're doing this and that you're doing the right thing for the right reason, you will get the same result that Kathy's getting. People can feel it through the phone. The energy comes through in everything you do, the letters you write, the phone calls you make. So, and that's why in the fast track videos, that's the first thing I address is get real clear on why you're doing this. And when you feel good about what service you're offering, it is that easy. You can get 12-1 all day long.
Oh, I know. And it, like I said, sure, I had a lot of people that just were saying thank you, but we've got a friend that's already listed it, and I just I thank them for spending time with me, and they appreciate me following up with them. I only had one negative. Our very first one, she left a message on my phone and called me an ambulance chaser, but I just let her be and never called her back. So that was it.
You're going to get that with any lead source. FSBOs will say, or expireds will say, where were you when the home was listed? And FSBOs will say, you're the 50th person that called me today. But it's all about attitude and the way you handle it, Kathy. So awesome job. And, I mean, you've only been getting the leads for a couple months, right?
Yeah, I had one guy call me that he's got a home and 2 lots, and he's very interested in us. He's located in, probably about 70 miles from us. Oh, no, he's Orange City.
Oh, yeah, but the house is close.
Yeah, the executor is like 70 miles away, but the house is close to us, and he called me.
Beautiful.
So that was a good thing, too.
Well, keep it up. Thank you for sharing that and asking your questions. We have 2 more people in the queue. Anything else, Kathy? Are you good?
We're good. We just kind of wanted to just let you know how we're doing, and just that one thing about attorneys versus the actual relative that has the estate. That's all.
Great point. Thank you, Robin and Kathy. Next up is the phone number ending in 2323. You're up.
Yeah, hi. This is Dave Friedman out of the LA area. How you doing?
Hey, great, Dave. Welcome.
Hey, I wanted to see what your thoughts were. You guys, I think, in the past have mentioned a few voicemail services, and I was wondering which one you think would be fairly easy to use and fairly reasonable in price.
Yeah, there are several out there, and it really depends. You're going to pay anywhere from 4 to 10 cents, and the 10 cent, the one out of Canada that a lot of our agents use, it's 10 cents. The one online is Fly Broadcast is more, but you actually have to do it yourself. Tim, you're back on now. I think I unmuted you. I'm not sure. Chad, do you have any comment on which? I know you've always preferred the one in Canada because you just call a 1-800 number and they do it all for you, correct?
Yeah, they've got personal customer service, so that VoiceLogic is the parent company for that one. And both of them have their own resources, like kind of, video training and things like that. The reason I like voice casting from VoiceLogic is they have one-on-one customer service. So you can look into that one. And that's the one that I always preferred.
Okay, that's good to hear. And when is it appropriate just to call and have a conversation with these people, assuming it's after I sent my first letter? Giving them a call versus having the service drop.
Live calls are always going to be best. So what we find with the folks that I work with that are really, really good at tracking their metrics in their business, if you're calling during the right times, and if you look under step 5 in subscriber resources, there's a study that MIT did. And in a nutshell, the best call blocks in my experience have been Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And the folks that we have call during those times, live calls, are reporting about a 2-to-1 contact rate. So if you make 50 phone calls, you'll have 25 conversations. Now,
Gotcha.
Different people are going to get different numbers of listings off of that. Hopefully you're like Kathy, and you make 12 calls and get a listing, and possibly 2 more and a lot referral. So but live calls, especially placed during those kind of strategic blocks, one of the best times, statistically to prospect, are always going to be better than ringless voicemail.
In voicemail, benefit is that you can just get out more volume. Is that the key benefit?
It's just leverage on time. So, you can call 100 people in 5 minutes versus, a whole day of prospecting.
Most of our clients that use that, Dave, are in markets where they get 300, 400, or 500 leads a month, and they just don't physically have the time to call them.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
If you're doing if you're getting 50, even if you're getting 100 leads, I mean, you could make 10 phone calls a day and and knock them out. It's always better to call them live. The interaction, just the results are going to be better. The voicemail is a better alternative than not calling them at all in most cases.
Great, thanks.
Sure. And we started the call with, thank you for participating, Dave. We started with the call with Roger. Guess who is back on the line? We'll end the call with Roger.
Let me just add one other thing here, Bud. The other thing to be aware of on the phone call side of this is that, when you're doing this and you're working with the people, there's really nothing going to replace, hearing your sunny voice on the phone. But the other thing to be aware of is that the calling services are not going to get through, but to, somewhere less than half in many cases of the people that you're going to talk to, which means that if that's what you trust to get it all done, you'll end up, not getting back in touch with about half your people. And that's why we recommend certainly that you find a way to reach out to them and let them hear you.
Yeah, and one of the ways is obviously you always want to mail them something. You want to put something in their hands. So if you don't reach them on the phone, at least you reached them. And also, I always share this with people when I initially talk to them. These leads have a cumulative effect. You will have people that'll put the letter away and call you a year later and say, we finally went through mom and dad's stuff and we had your letter in the file and we're ready to list. And they're not likely to save your voicemail or your phone message, but if you give them physical something in their hands, they will save that, and it will have a cumulative effect over time. So send them a letter, and if you have the time, make a live call. If you got to automate the calls, at least the letter, you got something in front of them, so you reached everybody that way one way or the other. Make sense? All right, Roger, you are first and last up. Finish this call on a high note. Go ahead, sir. No pressure.
Y'all just took the wind out of my sails. I only have one other thing because that's what I was going to talk about. When I first got started in this, I had the huge fear of making the phone call, and what I did after I recognized what my problem was call reluctance. I decided to start mailing. and I began my conversation with someone with, "Did you get my letter?" And about 75% of the people that I called afterwards said, "Yes, I did. I saw it with interest, but what is it? What are you doing?" And then they start asking me questions, and then I've got them on a dialogue that I can control, moving through a conversation. On big markets, the only thing I can think of, and I don't have that problem with where I am on big markets, I would say if you've got a team set up, divide up the leads among the team members, and break down a chunk of 500 phone call leads, and chunk it down, get it into a bite-size production process, so that you can have people making those personal phone calls. And that's really all that I was doing. And it makes, if the mail hits, like Jim said, as soon as the mail hits there, you just give it about 3 or 4 or 5 days before you make your call, and they'll remember that piece of mail that came in, and that turns a cold call into a warm call. I don't have a need for the auto dialing service, but I think that that's what you're trying to do with the auto dialing service, is to reduce the postage cost, and I think that the postage cost will be recaptured with the personal phone call.
Well said. What a great way to end, guys. We're right at the 30-minute mark. We try to keep this, right at a half hour every week. Great participation. Roger, thank you as always. Thank you, Robin and Kathy and Dave and everybody who participated. I always end these calls by challenging everybody. Take one thought, one idea, one thing that inspired you from this call. Go out and put it into practice this week, and come back next Thursday and share your results with us. Thank you so much, guys. Make it a great week. Same time next week.